to Q&A for this panel session. So I'm going to start with Dr. Noor. Dr. Noor, Professor Hanna spoke earlier about ensuring the best evidence and skills guide global decision making. And from your experience in strategy and responsible leadership, how can organizations practically embed evidence-based thinking into everyday sustainability choices?
Yeah, and today the organizations can learn from others. They can do the benchmarking and learn from the others' experience, and should investigate the best practices and learn the barriers and the enablers to how they should create a strategy and implement a strategy as a digital transformation as a strategy for the sustainability. And also they can get a consultancy for that. And it's not an easy way because they need to create some more sustainable future for their organization, but at the same time they need to get the desired organizational outcomes and create a balance between them to follow their responsibility, environmental, organizational, societal, and economic responsibility, and also to gain the desired organizational outcomes. For that, they can get a consultancy and they can learn from the other organizations' best practices. They can do the benchmarking and also need to go to the empirical results and research, and they can learn from the reports and the research results for that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to move to Professor Farag. When we talk about system-wide climate actions, finance often becomes the missing link. And what practical steps can financial institutions take to align investment decisions with long-term sustainability goals beyond the ESG statements?
Thank you. I think it's a great question. Just look, we observe over the past 10, 20 years that the behavior of companies and institutional investors in particular, they are highly linked with the behavior of politicians. So post-Paris Accord, we saw maybe the drive and motivation for most of the companies to showing that they are keen on climate finance. We can see some motivation, some innovation in producing maybe new innovative instruments like green bonds, blue bonds, and marine bonds, and many, many others. But unfortunately, the change in leadership, when they try to cast doubt on the existence of climate change, the behavior of institutions, mainly on those countries, will change. And also the behavior of the institution, because we can't isolate, by the way, you can't isolate the behavior of corporates in one country to another. This is now a small world. Most of the corporates, they have international relationship with other countries, and they are interconnected, and they have headquarters here and many other branches, the international trade everywhere. So once there is something happening in one of the leading countries, this will cast doubt to others. And then the domino effect will happen. So the behavior, the negative behavior start. And this is what we can see at the moment. Companies try to negate their commitments. And the most impacted maybe countries, as I said, developing countries. So how can we do that? How can we change this? As I said, it needs to have some political will. It needs to have some climate justice. We have to do something about it in order to make sure that the probably developing countries will survive against such existential threat.
Very profound. And so I'm going to come back to Dr. Noor and talking about gender and youth voices. And you've worked.
Sorry, Danica, I can't hear you very well, and you are mute now. Okay. And yeah, shall I start? And the question is that how can organizations practically embed evidence-based thinking into everyday sustainability choices? And I agree with Professor Hisham Farag in terms of the culture, and then the organizations are learning from to each other. And in terms of the sustainability, now many of the governments are facing with reaching the sustainable development goals, and also many of the organizations need to provide their ECG reports, and there are a pressure from the society level, and NGOs are working in that. So the companies, when we compare to past, the companies are facing to respond more with the great pressure to be responsible and sustainable in that way. The first point is that having a culture in that way and a leadership style in that way, and with the leadership style and then with the culture, sustainable oriented culture, they need to start to experience some practices, and then they should learn from their practices and outcome of their practices. If they need to get some consultancy, they need to learn from the research results and the evidence-based results, and also need to learn from the great literature and create a system, then start to work their system and then learn from their system. That these systems should be the organizations should follow the learning organizations. So they need to learn from their failures and from their success, and also from others' failure and other success in that way. And also they need to set up some goals at the beginning, and then need to create and define some KPIs and the milestones for each sustainability related dimensions. It's not possible to cover all of the sustainability issues and the scene within one organization, but consider their industry and the priority of the industry and the priority of they need to merge the priority of the industry, priority of the country, and the priority of their organizations to start their sustainability journey. Yeah.
Thank you. Very insightful, Dr. Noor. And that was very detailed explanation. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Farag, Professor Farag, speaking of COP30, the COP30 team of collaboration for action calls for cross-border partnership. So from a finance and governance perspective, how can North-South collaboration ensure fairness and shared accountability in sustainability funding?
Yeah, just look, from COP to COP, we have pledge followed by pledge from international community and from developed countries in particular to developing countries. This is good and positive. But in my view, what needs to be done is the collaboration, a cooperation between developing countries. We need to be more united and to set aside our differences. That way, look at Africa in particular. Africa is full of resources. Human capital is huge. Resources are huge. Water is huge. But what is happening is differences in opinion. This is not really good. So what we will need to do to start ourselves, the global south, to unite, to develop our countries and communities together and to set aside any differences. This will make us stronger. It's good to have the pledge from developed countries because they are in charge of the carbon emission and mostly the climate impact, as statistics show. But if it doesn't happen for whatever the reason, maybe political tension, maybe any other reason, economic, pandemic, higher inflation, Global South will not be the priority. And we're gonna still waiting forever. So the solution, and I know it's not easy, is to unite, is to understand our capabilities and to understand the strengths we have of human capital and human resources and natural resources. Once this has been efficiently used in a good faith, I think we can together will be much, much stronger.
Thank you. Human resources is very, very important. And yeah, we'll be much stronger when we collaborate and come together. And, we have a question from Vikant in the question Q&A said that, thank you so much, Sahimam. I would appreciate both of you thoughts on the discrepancies that exist between the global North and South when it comes to understanding the implications of climate negligence as a whole. So I don't know, Professor Farag, do you want to start with the?
So can you
So the
repeat the
question
question
is,
again?
yeah, the question is from Vikrant. He said that what are your thoughts on the discrepancies that exist between the global North and global South when it comes to understanding the implications of climate negligence as a whole?
Yeah, I think maybe this link with with my previous comment about understanding the behavior, if I understood the question correctly. So working together as global South, I think will mitigate most of those climate or negative externalities of climate action. So I would say working collaboratively between developing countries together, this will have a huge impact. As I said, having support from developed countries is fine, but you can't just wait for support of or maybe pledge of funding. This may not happen. And then from COP to COP, I think what we need to start as a global South, we will need to understand what the existential threat in our communities, in our countries, and how can we work together without any differences and set the differences aside in order to achieve or mitigate the impact of climate change.
Thank you.
May I add one point? Yeah, may
yes,
I add
please.
one point to this question?
Yes.
Yeah, and one of the SDG, the last SDG, is the working collaboratively for the Sustainable Development Goals. But the south of the world have different priorities when we compare the Sustainable Development Goals. That's the reason, as the Professor Hisham mentioned, that we need more collaboration and then the follow the good example for that. But when we check the literature, we saw that still there are limited research based on the understand the barriers for the good collaboration and the follow this good collaboration. We need to understand the barriers on this collaboration, and then the later start to provide solution for that. And the last 10 years after the Sustainable Development Goals introduced, within these 10 years, we are still need more good collaboration cases between North and the South of the world. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, very profound. Thank you so much for that wonderful insight, Professor Farag and Dr. Noor. And I'm just going to ask another question, and this will go to Dr. Noor, is if you could ask everyone here to practice one mindset shift tomorrow that would make their workplace more sustainable, what would it be and why?
So again, please, because I can't hear you very well because of the connection problem. Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, perfect. So if you could ask everyone here to practice one mindset shift tomorrow that would make their workplace more sustainable, what would it be and why?
It's not easy to just say one thing to everyone because everyone has a different case. But in terms, in terms of the individual perspective, individual organization, and the system's perspective, every time I suggested that to know their priorities. Okay, know their priorities for that, and so to choose the sum of the SDGs, not just for the SDGs, any sustainability related, any intervention, any behavior changing to help to to create a more sustainable future in their life, in individual or organizational level. If they have any managerial responsibilities, it's very good, because with just one decision, they may create a more impact for that. Maybe the one advice will be that think the impact of their decision and their behavior. Whether my decision and my behavior can create any impact for more sustainable future, not just for my generation, for future generation, will be a good idea. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, for future generations. Thank you. That was so profound, Dr. Norris. So, Professor Farag, I'm going to ask, so let's do a quick thought experiment. If you had $1 billion to invest tomorrow purely for impact, what one principle would guide how you allocate the money?
I would have the same question, $1 billion.
About 1 billion.
Yeah.
1 billion for individual
Please
would
share
be.
it with me. Please share it with me, Professor.
Do you want 10% or
future.
do you want 10% or more?
No, more than 50.
More, okay. We're gonna talk about that later. We are in the same school anyway.
Yeah.
Just look. I would tell you something. Just look, if I have the resources, or maybe if I don't need the 1 billion as and not as individual, I would say to everybody to be careful with water consumption. If you want to start with ourselves, number one priority, be careful with water consumption. Number two, just also be careful with electricity consumption. Sometimes our maybe behavior as individual, we don't really care. And sometimes we see that, look, the problem is not gonna impact us. But we saw from the history, the near history, few years ago or few years back, there was a problem with the water in South Africa. I'm not sure if somebody from South Africa here, and citizens were not allowed to use water for more than whatever amount per day or time and so on. It does mean if I have this 1 billion and maybe more, we're going to work together with African countries in particular, because they are the most impacted. Okay, and maybe some of the Asian countries, some of the islands in the ocean are wiped out, and the people are completely displaced because the sea level rise and the rising CO2 emission coming from the main emitters across the world. So what I would say with this, what I'm going to do with this money is to start on a smaller scale with a group of African or maybe Southeast Asian countries, a group or a steering committee, what could be done to preserve our natural resources. Number one, water.
Dr. Noor, would you like to
add? Yes, I would like to add one point. Based on the electricity and the water consumption, and my advice is to use the AI tools carefully in these regards, because the AI tools and the data centers, data resources to provide the electricity for that, and they are using a huge amount of electricity and also water. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Noor, Gundogdu, and Professor Hisham Farag for such thoughtful and engaging contributions. And this will bring us to the close of this panel sessions. And during this discussion, you've reminded us that sustainability is not just a moral ideal, but a matter of strategy and structure. And that the choices we make in boardrooms, in our classrooms, and in financial systems must be grounded in evidence, in equity, and most importantly, in empathy. And from Dr. Noor's emphasis on inclusive leadership and evidence-based decision-making, to Professor Farag's call for aligning finance with purpose and accountability, today's discussion has shown that when ethics meets economics and when research meets policy, genuine transformation becomes possible. And on behalf of everyone from the Green Institute and BISCAR and all our partner institutions, I want to thank you for sparking such an inspiring dialogue and one that bridges people, planet, and policy in practice. So thank you so much, and we hope that we'll keep continue to engage you in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for this invitation. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.